I'm Danny Buchholz, and in this video I am going to explain why I got into the real estate industry with the hopes that this will help you to further clarify your niche and your purpose for doing what you do. Okay, so back in the 90s, I was working for a very large corporation and I was doing high-end sales, software, and print management programs. And I was very successful and good at what I did. However, my managers were like a rotating door like this, and so that was changing on a constant basis, as well as the company's vision. And their vision switched to they wanted their sales representatives and executives to expand their territories, which meant traveling out of state, something that was a non-negotiable for me. My family's always been more important, and I was not about to miss a single music recital or sports event for one of my children. So I started looking for, what am I going to do? What do I want to do when I grow up? And I knew that I didn't want to go back to school, although pursuing a law degree was always something that I dreamed of. So I checked into that. I looked at different careers, and I just really wasn't finding anything that piqued my interest. But I knew that I had a timeline, and so I needed to get my butt going and really figure it out. So I had some friends that kept telling me that I would be really, really good working in the real estate and or the mortgage industry. And I just kept saying, no, I cannot envision working with the general public. I just couldn't. And because I'd always done business to business sales and I knew I was really good at it. And so I just couldn't mentally make that switch in my mind. So what I ended up doing was I kept coming back to the mortgage or the real estate industry. So what I ended up doing was starting that part-time while I still had my full-time job. And so I jumped into it and I started researching different companies that I wanted to work for. And I really wasn't finding many of those either. This was about 6 or 7 years prior to the mortgage meltdown. And so there were a lot of fraudsters and scamsters and just not good individuals or companies to work for. And so finally I landed at one that seemed pretty decent, and I started to build up a business from there. And so I had customers that had bad credit, I had customers that had good credit, but what really catapulted my growth was when I had a client come to me who had been ripped off. She had a mortgage and she truly didn't know, she truly did not know that she had a mortgage. Anyway, fast forward, I helped her figure out what was going on. We got a resolution for her, got that all figured out. And then she referred me to one of her friends. And that friend was in bankruptcy. She had been in bankruptcy multiple times before. And she just was looking for, what are my options? Can I ever buy a house? So what I ended up doing was helping her to buy herself out of her bankruptcy using the little bit of equity that she had in her home, and got her back on her feet. And after that happened, I did not know that she came from a very large family. I started getting phone calls from all of her family and friends, and I still do to this day, 20 some years later, that wanted me to help them refinance their house or sell their house or buy a property or buy an investment property, whatever the case may be. Just because my client didn't have the best credit didn't mean that her family and friends had bad credit, because most of them did not. So that very quickly grew into a business. And so what I did is I was like, oh, okay, so this is actually a niche that I can go after. So I very strategically marketed to people that were in bankruptcy. I have a system for doing that, and people that had equity in their homes. And I was able to help them do the exact same thing. And with some of those clients, I actually got referral business off of it. And it was not people with bad credit. I'm a firm believer in you are who you hang around, right? But just because I hang around with a certain group of people doesn't mean that all of us have poor credit or bad credit or whatever the case may be. So I'm just trying to reiterate that point. But that is how I started my real estate career. And those clients, 20 some years later, sending me referrals to help them sell their homes in Milwaukee, this city that I don't live in any longer, obviously. And some of their family and friends have moved on to other states like Arizona, and have contacted me and said, Danny, we know that you're not a realtor here, but we trust you implicitly. Can you please help us find somebody that can help us to buy a property, and so on. So that is a business that I really didn't do that good of a job of nurturing that business. I should have done a better job. However, even with the very minimal amount of nurturing that I did do, I am still able to get business from those clients, and many of those clients have become family friends. We've been invited to family events and such. So that is just a very specific example of how I got into the real estate business, how I got into a particular niche, and what it did for me. So I hope that helps you in thinking about like what your possible niche category might be, what your why is. My why was very specific in that I wanted to make a very small difference in the industry. I knew I couldn't have a big impact because it's just me, but I wanted to make a difference in the industry. I wanted people to know that there was a good person and a good company that was there to help them and not rip them off. So that's just me. I hope that this helped you, and I hope that you got your wheels turning now, and that it helps you to really hone in on what it is that you want to do. Have a blessed day. Thanks.